We're joined by Mr. Sandeep Poundrik, who's the Steel Secretary after the extension, if I may call it, of the levy with regard to safeguard duty. Mr. Poundrik, great having you. Let me first start off by understanding the rationale behind the extension of the safeguard duty.
You know that the safeguard duty is imposed when the government feels that a particular sector or products are being, means there are cheaper or substandard imports and the pricing, they are getting damaged due to that unreasonable pricing. So initially, provisional safeguard duty was imposed by the government in March, which got over in November of 2025. At the rate, it was at the rate of 12% on certain products, certain steel products. And then DGTR in the meanwhile had conducted a thorough investigation and it recommended that a range of safeguard duty, that is 12, 11.5 and 11%, should be imposed. After investigation, the DGTR found that there was unreasonable damage to local or Indian industry because of the imports, cheaper imports, and the government has now accepted the recommendation of DGTR and has imposed the safeguard duty with effect from 30th of December. So the rationale is obviously to protect the domestic industry against unreasonable pricing or dumping of steel products in the country.
Why the 11 to 12% range? Sir, if you can throw some light on that as well. I know that that was the rate earlier as well, but now that you've had a chance to reevaluate, give us a sense.
So basically, when the DGTR investigates, it takes into account what is the extent of damage or the extent of unfair pricing, which is impacting the Indian industry. So DGTR has found that the extent is 12% as per the calculations given by the industry and the further information which has been collected by DGTR from its own sources, from views of the ministries concerned. So DGTR has concluded that if a duty of 12% is imposed, then it will be a reasonable duty to protect the industry. So that's the rationale, that what could be the extent of damage or unfair pricing. We should also take into account the fact that government has to balance the steel pricing or steel sector against the consumer of steels. So there are large part, as you know, steel is a very basic raw material for many consumer segments. So the government also has to balance that the steel prices remain reasonable. They don't go very high, but at the same time, the steel sector should also be protected against dumping. So it's a balancing act, and DGTR has recommended that 12% is a reasonable number.
Much the need of the hour. Mr. Poundrik, thank you so much for your time, and firstly wish you and your entire team a Happy New Year.
A Happy New Year to you too.
Right. So, Mr. Poundrik, if dumping of steel into India were to increase, could the duty then be extended beyond 12%? And will the rate be reviewed periodically from now on?
So for now, as you know, you have seen the notification. So for now, this duty is for 3 years, 12%, 11.5 and 11. If there is any significant change in the imports, as you are saying, or if the industry again approaches the DGTR with proof that the imports have increased significantly or the pricing disadvantage has increased significantly, then DGTR will have to again investigate. So government goes as per the recommendation of the DGTR normally, which is a sort of a quasi-judicial process because DGTR hears everybody. We also have to see that imports in this year as compared to last year have in fact reduced by about 37%. if we take April to December period, then the imports have reduced about 37%. So I would say that safeguard duty is having an impact on imports, as was the intention of imposing the safeguard duty, and it should continue.
So there is no set timeline which has been set so far, right?
Timeline for what?
No, timeline for reviewing periodically whether the duty needs to be extended beyond 12%.
No, that's not how the process
Sure,
works.
got
So,
it.
yeah.
Right, understood. So, Mr. Poundrik, currently this exemption is only for China, Vietnam and Nepal. Is it likely to be extended beyond these three countries?
I think that's so if you see the notification, it says that the safeguard duty will be imposed on a certain range of products. The countries you are mentioning are the countries which are considered to be developing countries. So there is a list of developing countries, and among them, the countries which are which you mentioned, they have been listed in that list. So in imports from these countries, China, Nepal, and Vietnam, and among the list of developing countries, safeguard duty will be imposed. However, the countries which are not in the developing country list, the safeguard duty will be applicable. So that's the differentiation.
And there will be ways in which this duty will be circumvented. How are we protecting, or how is the government protecting against that?
Means I don't know what you mean, but
Could
basically
it be rerouted? Could it be rerouted through other countries? Could the supply be rerouted through other countries? That's how I'm trying to probably place it in my head.
So basically, the only countries which are now exempted from safeguard duties, as I mentioned earlier, are countries which are in the developing country list and which are not these three countries you mentioned. So if the steel is rerouted through these countries, then yes, there is a possibility. However, the government will keep a watch on, means we as a Ministry of Commerce, DGFT, we keep a watch on the trend of imports country-wise also and the product-wise also. And then if we find that rerouting is happening or there are allegations or complaints of rerouting, then we will have to take a call on that.
But Mr. Poundrik, what immediate impact do you expect on domestic steel prices? Because currently domestic prices are lower than the landed cost, which means we might not see the benefit in the near term, right?
Yeah, so yeah, you are right. So domestic steel prices are quite low. If you actually see the prices for both flat and long products, especially for long products, the prices are much lower than what they were even in December 2024. So 1 year ago. For flat products also, they are more or less at the same level before the safeguard duty was imposed. They increased a bit during the first quarter of this financial year, but after that there has been a slow decline, and now they are again at a lower level. However, we are seeing some upward push in December as the demand increases a bit. We also have to look at it from the capacity versus demand point of view. It's not only imports which are affecting the prices, because the capacity, steel capacity in the country is increasing significantly. So if you see the steel capacity, total steel capacity, it was 200 million tons at the end of FY25. And in this financial year alone, we have added 18 million tons of steel capacity. So the capacity is increasing much faster than the demand. Though the consumption in the country is also increasing significantly, we are the only country in the world where steel demand is increasing. However, this year, the demand growth or the consumption growth is a little subdued as compared to last 3 years. This year, from April to December, it's about 7%, 6.8 to be precise. So the demand supply mismatch is also a factor affecting the pricing of steel apart from imports. So there are various factors which are affecting. As you know that the steel capacity increases in sort of slabs. So if a new steel plant comes, a few million ton is added. However, the demand increases incrementally. So maybe in 2, 3 years, 4 years time, this will stabilize and the demand supply gap will be reduced.
Talk to us. You've spoken about how there's going to be a ramp up with regard to the steel capacity in the country. Talk to us about competitiveness as well, because you would want India to be more competitive in the global marketplace in steel. How are you seeing in terms of us or India directionally move towards that?
So if we see India, at least steel sector, I can say that there are ISPs, integrated steel producers, and then there are secondary steel producers. Most of the ISPs, especially with newer plants, means the plants which have been established in last 10, 15 years, they are very competitive in terms of pricing, in terms of technology. In fact, I would dare say they are better than most of the or many of the plants in the world. Having said that, there are certain challenges in pricing or competitiveness in terms of logistics. So logistic costs in India are higher in some parts of the country. And then while we have iron ore, the coking coal, we import roughly 90% of the coking coal for steel making. So there are certain challenges. However, in terms of efficiency and competitiveness, we are reaching there in terms of energy conservation, reducing the staff cost or human resource cost. All of that we are reaching there. We are competitive except one country. And I think in coming years, we will become more and more competitive. The only challenge is the secondary steel sector, which contributes roughly 47% of our steel, which in terms of technology and in terms of modernization needs to catch up a lot. So these two sectors within steel sector, these two segments, there are different requirements for both of them. However, as a ministry, we are trying that they become more and more energy conservation is done, and then they become more competitive. They take more technology. So PLI, for example. So all that steps are being taken.
Understood. Great, Mr. Poundrik. Thank you so much for your time today. It was an insightful chat.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And a happy New Year again.
Thank you. Same to you once again. Okay, on that note, let's wind up on this edition of The Market and First Trades.